stand together side by side with the community.
Thank you, Member for Melbourne. I call the member for Dawson.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. We're all familiar with the term "give until it hurts," and there is an insidious form of giving which aims not to only hurt but even totally destroy livelihoods and whole industries of national importance and livelihoods and industries in my electorate of Dawson. The giving I'm referring to is of the deceptive green variety, a giving which masquerades as being all about conservation but in reality is all about shutting down the coal industry. And the amazing thing about this very destructive giving is that much of it goes on enjoying tax deductibility status, and that is something which has to stop. This giving has been highlighted again most recently in 2 recent articles in the Australian newspaper and acknowledged as a serious concern by Senator Erica Betts. A June 2nd article in the Australian states a large donation originally secured by pressure group Get Up to fund its campaigns for the last year's federal election was provided to Green Group Friends of the Earth, meaning that the funds could be treated as a tax deduction. That large donation came from millionaire What If founder Graham Wood, and essentially, it seems, Friends of the Earth received a $130,000 donation on behalf of Get Up. That money went to the Labor Party's marketing arm, Essential Media Communications, for communications research. The report from the research then went back to Get Up, who ran a campaign leading up to the election favouring the parties they most closely aligned with, Labor and the Greens. So the organisation that screams about transparency and political donations, Get Up, seems to be very clever at attempting to cover its tracks in funding what was effectively a political campaign. Let's take a closer look at Friends of the Earth, obviously more of a good friend of the Get Up organisation. Friends of the Earth have enjoyed tax deductibility status for the last 12 years, and it is such a giving organisation that it effectively gives its tax deductibility status to other friends, including the environmental political activist groups like Quit Coal and 6 Degrees Coal and Climate Campaign. Now, you wouldn't expect a donation to Quit Coal, an organisation which conserves or protects absolutely nothing, but blatantly seeks to destroy the livelihood of workers in the coal industry, should be tax deductible, but apparently it is. If you go to the Friends of the Earth website and click on the donate link, it takes you to a range of organisations you can donate to, one being Quit Coal, which proudly states that yes, donations are tax deductible, but how can that be when Quit Coal is not on the deductible gifts register? Quit Coal key spokesman Dominic O'Dwyer has proclaimed, "We are a peaceful group, but we are willing to break the law because it's important to ensure that we will get action on climate change." Why would a group willing to break the law be able to be given tax deductibility status? Now, in my electorate, there are people working in the coal mines and many supporting industries who do the hard slog at work, take their pay and pay their tax dollars, and they will then have some of those tax dollars subsidise tax deductibility for donations to groups who would seek to take their very livelihood away from them. It's wrong for government to facilitate this process whereby tax dollars from those whose lives depend on the resource sector effectively subsidise those who want to shut down the resource sector. These groups include, obviously, Friends of the Earth, and there's also Lock the Gate, the Environmental Defenders Office, Greenpeace, the Nature Conservation Council, Beyond Zero Emissions, the Capricorn Conservation Council. All of those organisations I've just mentioned are signatories to the Stopping the Australian Coal Export Boom political action strategy. The Australian Marine Conservation Society also enjoys this tax deductibility status, and they are behind the political anti-Abbott Point Coal Terminal campaign called Fight for the Reef. It is wrong. And then there's, in my electorate, there's the Mackay Conservation Group, which also enjoys tax deductibility and which currently, with the help of Get Up and the Environmental Defenders Office, is taking court action against the Abbott Point Coal Terminal development in Bowen. Well, that's giving that really hurts Bowen, a community where businesses are seeing a drop in turnover of 30 to 40%, and where about 30 businesses have already closed their doors. I would say to the Green activists, if you want to wage a war against the resources sector that helps to keep this country afloat and which has enabled us to enjoy one of the highest standards of living in the world, you do so without the luxury tax deductibility status which you do not deserve. I'm calling on the Australian Taxation Office to undertake a complete and forensic review of not only the activities of Friends of the Earth, which acts as a frontman for environmental political organisations and organisations like Get Up and Quit Coal, but all so-called environmental organisations on the register of environmental organisations which affords them the deductible gift recipient status. The register needs cleansing. Of course, there are many worthy conservation groups on that register, but we need to weed out those working against the decisions of government by waging environmental activist political campaigns. Last year, Sea Shepherd was refused tax deductibility status by the ATO because it was found the group's main activity was campaigning against whalers, not providing any direct care to animals. And that's a very telling finding that should be applied elsewhere. It's time to stop these acts of giving which not only hurt but in fact destroy jobs and opportunity for so many.
Member's time has expired.